Hi, good morning. This is John Chapelier. Thanks a lot for watching. Today we're going to introduce our Daily 6 podcast, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it brings the kind of information to you that you can use on a daily basis. The idea will be to not just give you a bunch of affirmations that you hear but can't figure out how to utilize, but I'm hoping what we can do is actually give you some practical ideas of how information is taken from the ideas in the Daily 6 and actually implemented into lives or into organizations. Today I'm going to talk to a friend of mine who is also a business owner and founder in just a bit. And I think he's done an amazing job of being able to build a new company based on these same concepts. When we decided to start doing the podcast, we decided to start it in February because it fit very nicely with the concepts of love and forgiveness, which is in the Daily 6. It's funny, my son asked me once why love and forgiveness are together rather than separate. And to me, love and forgiveness are just two sides of the same coin. Because you can't really be forgiving unless you're loving. And you can't be loving unless you're forgiving. Well, you can't just drag this bag of anger, judgment, and resentments around with us every day. We have to kind of let that go so that we can grow and be the kind of people that we want to be versus the kind of people that we are driven to be by past resentments and angers. So in the book, I refine and love as being understanding the needs of others and treating those needs as important as if they were my own. And forgiveness is actually the best definition I've ever heard of forgiveness. It's not even one I had in the book, but it's one a friend of mine gave me a couple of years ago, which was giving up all hope of a better yesterday. Yesterday's gone. So the idea here is it's not going to change. It's not going to get any better. So it's much easier and simpler for you if you just simply let it go. Well, today on my premier Daily 6 podcast, what I'd like to do is have somebody to have a tremendous amount of respect for and enjoy working with. And that's Brandon Forschino, the president and founder of Out of Dust Marketing. He's located right here in downtown Jacksonville. And I think that he and his team bring some of the most creative and dynamic ideas I've ever seen having to do with marketing, media, web development. So without further ado, let me introduce my premier and first guest, Brandon.
Yeah,
Brandon Forschino.
It's great to be on your podcast.
It was exciting. We were sitting around last week and talking about 4 or 5 different people to have as this first guest, and it just kept ringing in my head. The first guest should be the guy that thought this idea up and thought that it would be impactful to have these ideas out in a podcast.
I didn't know what I was signing up for, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. You said it was good, so be here, talk
Sure.
up. Listen, I noticed I left one of these on your desk the other day. Just left it there.
Yeah.
And you're wearing the Daily 6 willingness bracelet. Tell me about why. Every time I've seen you for the last couple of weeks, you've had that on. So tell me a little bit about why you're wearing it all the time.
You know, I think it's really. First of all, it's a great reminder every day, especially as we joke about me being on this podcast. I think it's hard to have a willingness to really do things that you know you're supposed to do, and for me, it's been great because it's not just on my day-to-day decisions I'm making here at the company, but even at home as a father, as a husband. We're called to so many different hats, and so this has really become a really nice nudge for me to have more willingness in just every aspect of my life. Willingness to do things I wouldn't normally do that will benefit somebody else on the other side.
Right.
I think it's so easy to get caught up with how does this impact me? Whether it's spending time with my children. Like you mentioned to me a long time ago, when your child's asking to go throw the baseball and you're got a lot on your mind. He only wants to throw the baseball for a few minutes.
Right, and then he's going to completely lose interest.
Forget about it, right?
Absolutely.
So just the willingness to be there now and the willingness to do something for those. And I think it's been a great reminder for me, and it has really helped change micro decisions that lead to, I think, a macro impact on my habits, my productivity, and just in general, just a better life altogether.
Well, I don't think I could ask for a better value associated with wearing a bracelet. But
thanks for making it.
And if you'd like a bracelet, do let me know. The interesting thing is that micro steps. That's what we say a lot in the Daily 6 is small changes practiced consistently create dramatic results. And that's really the simplest and easiest way to make any kind of change is to create a consistent effort towards the destination. Sometimes we just try and bite off too much, or we try to run towards a goal too fast, and then we get frustrated, or we fail, and then we just give it up.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've been trying to lose about 15 pounds for about 15 years, and
all from your freshman year of college. Huh?
that's right. This is still my sophomore 10 or whatever that's called.
What do they call it? Freshman
That's right.
15, huh?
That's exactly right. And you know, for me, it's a matter of, well, if I can't get down and start getting an hour worth of exercise in every couple of days, then it's just like, I don't have time for this. And I've got a young man who's very helpful now, and he talks exactly the same way about exercise that I've been talking about business. Well, can you go downstairs and get on a treadmill for 5 minutes? You know, I said, well, that's not any help. You know, it doesn't get my heart rate up. It doesn't. You know, he said, no. It gets you into the habit of going downstairs and getting on the treadmill. And he said, then as you begin to, your breath starts getting easier and your wind starts coming back, all of a sudden be like, wow, 5 minutes, maybe I'll do 7 minutes. And so it's the same thing as, you know, the chunking, the way we teach kids to do homework, we teach them to do chunking. But for some reason we get into business and we think we should, especially entrepreneurial business, we think we should accomplish everything we need to accomplish in the first quarter.
That's right.
And then we get frustrated or disappointed because it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurs tend to be driven a lot by emotion.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we get down on ourselves, and we are our number one whipping boys. You know,
right.
We just beat ourselves up all the time.
We're our own worst enemy. That's
Yeah.
100% true.
Yeah. I know that you had a company before Out of Dust Marketing. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was in the right place at the right time with the right idea. Right?
Okay.
Is kind of how I look at it. Is first and foremost, when I graduated high school, you know, I had an uncle that was at my graduation party, super successful, and of course, to me, the biggest question was, you know, so what's the secret to success? You want to know that, like everyone's giving you gifts and telling you good luck, but I wanted to know
Right.
what's the secret to success, and he
Right.
told me, you know, find a need in society and fill the need. So of course, going to college, that was my mantra, that was my mission. I was an architect major at the time.
Oh, really? I don't think I knew that before.
Yeah, I was actually an architect major. I've always had this passion to design and build, and I've always been, you know, thinking about, you know, just vision, bringing something to life. And so, practically, that was architecture. I loved design. I loved art. I loved building plans. Even as a young child, I remember taking graph paper and building my dream home, or taking Lincoln logs and resurrecting amazing buildings. And so it's funny, you know, I was on campus, and my girlfriend at the time was at another school. She was attending Florida State. I was down in South Florida attending Florida Atlantic University. And both of us had realized really quickly that the campus wasn't all that it was cracked up to be, or what they had shown us on those beautiful college tours, the best meal in the cafeteria
That's
that
right.
day. They show you the best dorm room.
That's right.
And at the time, we were really used to using Rate My Professor to help find the classes we should take based off of what students were saying about the professor and the courses. And so I had the idea of just kind of that same concept, but for the college, and categorized it into 8 main categories, from Greek life to sports, academics, housing, even off campus, like what was dining and nightlife like. And so we started as like a blog site where people could literally just post discussions and kind of share their experience. And it quickly came to someone's attention that happened to meet at a tailgate, a good friend of mine's father, and received an angel investment to actually bring life to the idea in another way.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, so the company became College Swiss. Such a great experience. We built a really neat mobile app where we created this amazing technology that showed, it was an actual heat map that showed where people were on campus. And the more people that were there, the denser and the warmer it would get.
Wow, that's exciting.
And you would be able to actually click on those spots, and it would show you real-time photos, videos, shout-outs of what was happening. So we could actually determine, all right, it's 10:30. Should we go to the bar tonight?
Yeah, let's look and see. Anybody else there? That's right.
Or FAU's playing some no-name school. Is anybody at the stadium? Well, nope. According to the heat map, nobody's there.
That's right. They're over across the street at the bar. That's
right.
Yeah, that's right. So,
you know, but then there was the great days where in the breezeway we had, you know, somebody was there giving away free T-shirts, and who doesn't like a free T-shirt in college? You know, it's the perfect shirt to wear.
Absolutely.
And so we could see real lifetime shout outs that was happening. So that was my first business, actually. So 18 years old, was afforded the opportunity to do that. Learned an immense amount from the angel investor. And about 21 years old, so from that time frame, we ended up, there was a merger acquisition that took place with another company. And I got a chance to be a part of that for a little bit of time before really, kind of walking away from that and
Yeah,
figuring
yeah.
out what was next.
Well, sometimes entrepreneurs do really well with themselves, and then when they get into an organization, kind of thing, it's just like, yeah, I really like being my own boss, or I like setting my own rules and regulations, and
Yeah, or your vision.
and it's very hard to fit that visionary. We've talked about that with the visionary and the integrator kind of thing,
Absolutely.
and we tend to be visionaries. And actually, I wish when I was running companies back in the 80s and 90s. That I had that idea of a visionary and an integrator, because I would have hired I would have hired an integrator the next day, because somebody else to do the integration of the concepts that I was coming up with is exactly what I would have wanted to have. And and that's one of the hard transitions for an entrepreneur from this I'm running my own show into now I'm working as a subsidiary. I've got a friend of mine here in Jacksonville who's running a company that got absorbed by a large company in Ohio, and while he's president of the company, he feels very much like the general manager of the company.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference in expectations and responsibilities.
That's right.
And while the expectations and responsibilities are high, he still feels kind of like a general manager.
Yeah.
And so that's not the kind of loyalty, feedback, commitment that you want to get from somebody.
Yeah, and I think for me, it was just, I had felt a strong passion and desire to be in a different direction.
Right.
Especially when you look at where I was in my life, I wasn't necessarily, talking about love and forgiveness, right? I didn't necessarily really love myself for who I was and my gifts, and I didn't really understand who I was at the time.
Sure.
And to speak to that, where we're at right now as a company, John, is, we've had great growth, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And the biggest challenge that I have as we grow the company is the hiring process. It's my least favorite part of the whole thing. I'm obviously left with some wounds of people that I've hired in the past. I've had some not so great hires that, ended with, just heartache on, both sides. And then the next time you go to hire somebody, that thought in your mind is always, am I hiring somebody that's going to be like this? And so you look for all these different statistics. And, even last night I remember staying up just, reviewing all the employees that I've hired as far as the past, the current employees that I have. And I was looking at their, some of the assessments that they've taken and really comparing. And I was looking at metrics and looking to see if I could find similarities. And I think the comfort I had last night was really just, everybody's different. And there's nothing that we can test them on that's really going to help me understand who they are. I think the biggest thing about being an entrepreneur and a business owner in this particular situation is really loving people for who they are and really trying to learn how to love them. Right. And that sounds not to be romantic, but from a manager standpoint or a leader, it's don't love them the way that you would want to be loved. Right. Because when we start treating employees that way, we're not speaking their language anymore. We're trying to have them speak ours. So a lot of this is really, I found comfort in just really looking for whoever I decide to hire. I'm going to try to figure out the ways they like to be loved, treated, valued, and then what behaviors do they demonstrate, and then how can I put my pride to the side, forgive them when things happen that I may not disagree, I may not agree with. And handle it in a more loving and forgiving way, because at the end of the day, I think it's more than just hiring people. I think it's trying to find people that we have to make it work. We're a team, right? And everybody has a different skill set they're bringing to the table, and we're not always going to get along. We're not always going to be best of friends, but how can we really come together in the trenches and be one?
Well, I tell you, there's so much in there to try to unpack. It's I'll try and go back through that. But I mean, the idea when you're running a small company, it really is a team. I mean, I'm working with a couple of large companies, and what we're going to have to do is break them into about 50 teams. But it's still a team. The idea of love and forgiveness, as far as an organization goes, and the idea of loving them for who they are. One of the assessments that we use is called the Platinum Rule Assessment, and my friend Tony Alessandro, who created that test, said that everybody understands the Golden Rule, but the Platinum Rule is not do unto others as you would like them to do unto me. It's do unto others as they would like to be done unto.
Yeah, good.
So it's, treat other people not the way I want to be treated. I mean, I'm outgoing, I'm a big picture guy, and if I'm going to hire an accountant or I'm going to hire somebody to sit and work on a phone all day long, that is not my personality.
Yeah.
And the issue associated with, especially with small business, when the founder or the owner is hiring people, is that they will inadvertently hire somebody who they can relate to.
Yes.
And in most cases, I don't need another founder. I got one founder already. So I don't want somebody who is going to be have a million different ideas rolling through their heads all the time. I want somebody who can sit and focus on what I need them to sit and focus on. And as we begin to build a sense of trust, then their expectations and responsibilities can expand.
That's good.
And as far as forgiveness goes, I mean, I need to have somebody walking along behind me, patting me on the shoulder, going, "Okay, you're forgiven for that stupid mistake. Okay, you're forgiven for that stupid mistake," because we make them all the time. I mean, whether you've been working for 40 years or you've been working for 4 years, I mean, you're going to make mistakes. I think by the time you get to be my age, you realize this is not life-threatening, or this is not going to explode my business. But I'll tell you, the thing that's important in an organization, as you were saying, is the sense of trust that a person can have in an organization leads to honesty, straightforward feedback, not hiding problems because the boss is going to get angry if he finds out I made this mistake. You need to have this transparency happening immediately. I just had this happen versus I can't tell anybody about this. Let me see if I can fix it before anybody finds out. And then the problem just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So the idea of being trustworthy is really more a byproduct of how does the organization feel. Does it feel like a place I can be trustworthy? Because I can assure you that if your organization is trustworthy, it's probably the first one this person has ever worked in. Well, thanks for watching the Daily Six podcast. This is our number one show, or the number one show. And I want to thank my guest, Brandon Forschino. And if you'd like to check out Brandon's work, his website is outofdustmarketing.com. And it's outofdustmarketing.com. And I want to thank Brandon again. Brandon, thanks a lot for being on this first show. Appreciate it. This is John Chapelier. Thanks a lot for watching the Positive Thought of the Week